Hey guys, it's Graham on another midnight ride headed to work. I finally got my copy of Absolute Superman #1 yesterday. There was a ordering issue with my local comic book shop. If you're unfamiliar, ordering comics is kind of a weird process. They've got final order cutoff dates and other like deadlines for like when you can order versus when it's coming out and blah blah blah. It's all got to do with printing quantities and shipping quantities. And if you don't order something like a month before it's supposed to come out, then you got to wait until the next month and stuff. I'm still learning about this whole process. Basically, like I ordered Superman and Wonder Woman at the same time, but they had different cutoff dates because they came out on different weeks. And even though I got Wonder Woman, like Superman, I didn't get. Weird. So I've been trying to avoid too many reviews and spoilers and stuff as I waited for them to finally get my copy, and then they didn't get it. I had to order it off of eBay. It was a whole annoying process. But as a result, when issue 2 came in last week and they still didn't have an idea of when I was going to get a copy of 1, I was like, the hell with it. I got one off of eBay, and then I was just able to read them back to back. That was a good experience because, and I've noticed this with other books that I'm reading, sometimes like you've got to remember tiny details for the next book instead of just remembering like the general gist of what happened last month. And I feel like having that experience with these first 2 really helped to set up whatever was going on. So the absolutes are kind of alternate versions of the core canon stories that we know. They're starting over. Absolute Batman, he's not rich. Absolute Wonder Woman, she wasn't raised on Themyscira, she was raised in hell. And so Absolute Superman he's from Krypton, but his parents were not the ruling class or whatever, like they were lower working class. His dad was a miner, his mom was a mechanic. And he was a teenager when he came to Earth. He didn't come to Earth as a baby. We know that the Kents are in the picture to some extent. It's not clear after issue 2 as to what extent, only that the farm is now destitute and it's owned by the Lazarus Corporation. There are a couple of entities in this book that I've heard of from DC Comics, but I'm not familiar with all of their lore, Lazarus being one of them. This isn't Luthor Corp or Cadmus Labs, it's some other big corporation. And the big string-pulling entity behind it all appears to be Brainiac, who is this super intelligent, conniving, scheming Superman villain. And he's using the Peacemaker Corps as his muscle around the world. Peacemaker, there was a TV show on HBO with John Cena as the Peacemaker character. He was also in that James Gunn Suicide Squad movie. I don't know a whole lot about them. They just got those weird like red and blue costumes with the the toilet seat helmets. These guys are pretty formidable, and they are enforcers for Lazarus Corp's various industrial interests around the world. As for Superman's parents over on Krypton, like I said, Jor-El is a miner, but his job is basically MSHA, to go in and do safety inspections in the mines. But he's trying to shut something down because he's like, I've got a feeling that this mine here is unsafe, and the mine boss is like, you're not in charge here, and you can't show me any of the stress fractures. Like this mine is fine. And then of course, like the mine immediately collapses after that, and kryptonite gas leaks out. And he's concerned that like they've strip mined the planet and it's going to collapse. That's basically what's happened in previous versions of the Superman story. So it's still following that same vein, but the House of El has a different relationship with it. And with Lara being a mechanic, she invents this suit for space travel that is also kind of intelligent, and it's able to like morph into different things. And so you get the understanding that this becomes the Superman suit. And when you see Superman on Earth, he's talking to the suit and it talks back to him. And there is a cape, but it's kind of like a cloud of high-tech nanoparticles that can take different shapes and perform different functions. And I'm like, okay, that's a cool idea. In a sense, it's similar to this high-tech engineered Batman suit. It's just alien technology and it can do way more. And what's he doing with it? Well, so far he's going around the world and he's examining mines on Earth, kind of the same way that his father was doing on Krypton. There's a little bit of, we'll say, like anti-corporate and environmentalism stuff going on here. But this is an example of one of those things where it's like, okay, these are ideas that are generally on the other side of the political spectrum from me, but they're done well, and I'm curious to see where they're going from here. Remember that I don't know a whole lot of names and reputations of different writers in comics, and I kind of prefer that because I want to go in cold and get my own opinions about these different guys. And who's the name of the artist or the writer on this? Like Jeffrey Aaron or Jason Aaron, something like that. And I don't care to dig through like what his personal beliefs are about anything. I want to know like how is he writing Superman. And so far in these two issues, he's writing a compelling version of the Superman lore and mythos. Superman is going into mines in Brazil that are owned by the Lazarus Company, where the people are paid next to nothing to mine highly valuable minerals, and he's doing the work for them and saving them from asbestos and stuff, and he's got a reason for doing it. It's not just some like, let me stand up and be like, oh, you're exploiting these people. Like, there's an element of that, but it's also it goes back to the fact that Krypton was overmined and strip mined and the planet became uninhabitable, and habitable planets are a rare thing, and he doesn't want to see Earth go the way of Krypton. It's like, okay, cool. You've actually thought this out. It's consistent with other elements of Superman lore. You're taking it in kind of a different direction, a different focus, and it makes sense. I think one of the most surprising reveals at the end was when Lazarus sends in more of its peacemakers to arrest Superman at the mine in Brazil, and the agent that grabs him is Lois Lane. Like, okay, yeah, she's a mild-mannered, no, he's the mild-mannered, like, she's a rambunctious field reporter for the Daily Planet in typical lore, but what a lot of people forget is that she is the daughter of a 4-star general. They played that up a lot in the Superman and Lois TV show. They didn't really do a whole lot with it in the Man of Steel movie, which they could have, because Lois Lane goes around with the military and stuff. They did a lot with it in Smallville, but she's an army brat, so she is tough in the canon and in the lore, and so like bringing her in as a soldier makes sense. They don't just have her like be a girl boss, let me run in and beat up Superman. Like, she's got some peacemaker tech of her own, and she handcuffs herself to Superman, and he's not able to break it even with his high tech. Like the metal is something that he doesn't understand. But she ends up tagging along with him to save some other people, and it starts to change her opinion of this guy that the Peacemaker Corps is going after. Now, there's another really, really cool parallel between these two issues that I thought was also very relevant, not just as like a current day thing, but as a commentary on emergent technologies, and that's AI. We get a flashback to Kal-El as a kid on Krypton. He was supposed to do some kind of report for school, and he wrote it himself. And the teacher's chiding him for not using like the school Wikipedia to write it all. He's like, no, I did the research myself. And the teacher's like, no, you're supposed to like have the AI do it to do your book report. At the same time, Lois goes to write up an after-action report on the Superman engagement, and I don't think she realizes that she's talking to her computer, but it's Brainiac on the other side, and he's twisting her words, and he's like, okay, so you're saying that he's an 8 out of 10 threat and that we should eradicate him. She's like, no, that's not what I'm saying, and she ends up wanting to write the report herself. And after she, like, even though she hates writing, again, like, that's canonically accurate to Lois Lane. She's notoriously bad at spelling, too, but she likes to do the active reporting. Writing is just an appendage of that. At the end of issue 2, like, she ends up writing the full report on Superman, and she's like, you know what, that felt pretty good. It's like, okay, awesome. Like, even if you're going to go in a direction that I might not have, you still justified what you're doing and made it respectful of the lore that went before. And I understand that the whole point of this absolute line is to take it in a new direction or a different direction, but it's still got to be recognizably similar to the core elements of the Superman mythos, as well as for the other characters in his orbit. And throughout 2 issues, they've done that. I like that. I got to the end of both of these, and I thought, there's a little bit of, like, again, bleeding heart environmentalism, but it's not just for its own sake. It's not saying, hey, are you a Superman fan? Well, we should all fight global warming. Like, it's not that. It's environmental sensibilities that make sense in a Superman story. This is a good way of doing that. That's what good storytelling is. So I've liked the way that has come together through the first 2 issues, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here. I think it'll be first week of January when we get Absolute Superman 3. I don't know how many they're planning on doing. I've heard that it's 5 for each of the Trinity books. I don't know if I'm going to chase down like Absolute Green Lantern or Absolute Flash. I've seen the art for Absolute Martian Manhunter. It looks bad. I've got no interest in it. So I think I'll just stick with the Trinity. And but so far, they're batting 1,000 on these, 3 for 3. That's a recommendation. All right, check the link for relevant descriptions. You can also find my Substack where I'm doing the ongoing Christmas Carols Explained project. So next time, drive safe. See you out there.